nice to have you back. I'll just call you Old Morty from now on.
Really makes you feel loved when you just get kidnapped and then replaced.
Don't get all whiny, Morty. The games you missed were terrible. The Browns stink and the season's over. It also made me realize there's very few good coaches left, and, you know, we just keep finding morons. And the problem is, most of the next coaches will come from the same pool of coaches, from the same coach's pool, and then he'll either be that coach or the kid of another coach, or if they actually do give a college guy a chance, he'll just gonna, you know, he'll treat it like his personal Madden franchise. This is Andy Reid, and he's here to give you an important lesson. You know, don't underestimate Walrus people. You know, he might look like the run-of-the-mill, everyday, average, boring, I can't think outside of the box NFL coach, but he made an important discovery. Now bear with me, because we're going to give some of Rick's hard facts. This week I want to talk about the fact that when you go to college, it's supposed to prepare you for your job out of college. Like, if you want to be an architect, you go to college and they teach you the math. So when someone says, hey, build me the most innovative Waffle House that's ever existed, you know, you can build it, and you're alright, and you know the way to do it. Trouble is these kids go to college to play football, and they're taught, you know, hey, here, stand in shotgun, and then here's your plays. You know, run the, you know, handful of $100 bill plays. That's a real good one. Then you send them up to the pros, and then they're like, oh, yeah, here's a play. $100 bill play is now the endless string of random words. And I would love to see their face the first time they're told they gotta stick their hands up underneath, you know, the centers, you know what. Because let's be honest with one another here, you know, if our architect got the same training to be a pro that our quarterbacks do in college, this would be our Waffle House. So yes, give Pat Mahomes a wide open offense, something like he might be used to in college, and he does good. Give Baker Mayfield 7-step drops and keep seeing what happens. Basically, keep it simple, stupid. You know what? Give a kid an air raid offense and he might do kind of good. Just ask Jared Goff. Or you know what? When you're scuffling along, you know, hey, just say, hey, let's put him in Purdue's offense and see what happens. But Jimmy will be dumb. Holy crap, Morty, do you know what this game means? We're gonna actually get to show highlights on the show today, you know.
You know, Rick, you're right. You know, isn't that why you fire everybody in the first place?
I mean, seriously, we gotta quit wasting time here. Look, we gotta play here. You drop back and, you know, don't be fooled by this. This is actually the first time he saw pressure, and he just rolled out and hit Hollywood Higgins. And it was awesome. You know, that was offense, and it was set up by other offense that looked like offense.
And we even managed to make an extra point, which was like, you know, not something I thought would happen.
Yeah, Morty, it's like they just hate momentum, and then, you know, they made the extra point, but then they kind of just found something else that worked with this wishbone thing, and, you know, it started to go good, and then they did something silly, and then they decided to do, you know, this. They thought they'd get cute and, you know, just kind of run through an entire run of plays in a formation like a bored kid in Madden. And that's where I thought the same old Browns would return.
But then Baker said no way. You know, he turned around and, you know, when was the last time a play like this actually worked for the Browns? You know, either the quarterback gets creamed or just spikes into the ground or he drops it.
But this is actually where it gets really crazy, because the Browns actually decide, you know, we're going to take over a game. And they hit Duke Johnson for yet another touchdown early in the third quarter. You know, that marks the first time since like the 60s they've actually had offense in two halves.
Yeah, but then everybody's going to whine. Baker only had like 200 yards, but you know what? Nick Chubb ate all the yards. You know what? The end zone got in the way too. You know, that didn't really help. And this is the point where, you know, Browns actually won.
And, you know, and once again, this was the first time in a bajillion years that the Browns have actually achieved something that we like to call garbage time. You know, the Falcons scored another touchdown, and it actually didn't matter. And let's face it, any game that ends like this is all right in my book. Well, you watch Matt Ryan here. He's going to drop the ball. Watch this big turd try to get the ball. Yep, no thanks. You're going to score 3 touchdowns on a fumble. Nice try.
I can't believe it. For all the weeks for Rick to blow me off for the Brown Show, it had to be this one? But who?
It's me, Tiny Rick. Your grandpa sent me to do the Brown Show this week, and it's gonna be lit.
You're Tiny Rick?
I got a Rick brain, I got teenage sensibilities, so I say stupid things. I'm smart enough to know they're stupid, so I have inner conflict. Yet I'm millennial enough to resolve it by blaming my parents. So I'm perfect for social media. Get ready for the best show ever! About the Browns yesterday, I got a song for them. Here we go, live music! You got out, what you see is another victory. I'm gonna cry, I feel like a younger guy. Haley's gone and Baker's free. He's looking good, coached by Freddie, while Hugh's career is dying in Cincy. I watch the team excitedly since the coach got canned. They stopped screwing around and actually beat teams soundly, completely, and it feels alright. Did you see when the Chiefs tried to take a leap? He couldn't fly, it looked like a wrestling match. He got stopped and so his friends came running up. They flung him in, well, since he flipped the old Brown switch. It really is just plain to see improvements under Gregg. The same old Browns look like they moved on down the state, and it feels all right. Chubb's got hands, made a grab off a defender's head. It's pretty neat. 2 best touchdowns that you will ever see. It could be worse. Drop some picks, but we still had garbage time for a half. I watched the team excitedly since the coach got canned. They stopped screwing around and actually beat teams soundly, completely, and it feels alright. Tiny Rick, everybody!
Nice of you to join us this week, Rick, but you picked a crappy week to come back, and to be honest, I like Tiny Rick better.
Well, Morty, let's just say I had a couple busy weeks. The Browns played really, really well the last couple weeks. Well, I found an alternate reality where the Browns fired Hugh Jackson at the end of the 0-16 season. Gregg Williiams took over at the beginning of camp, and, they were really good, and so I set up a couple portals, and I would switch the teams before the game started, and we got to see the other realities. Browns kick the crap out of a couple teams for us.
So wait, you're telling me that wasn't even our real Browns that we were watching the last couple weeks?
Think of it more as our Browns had they made the good choice of firing Hugh Jackson when he deserved to be fired, or possibly even never hiring him in the first place. But the thing was, it's just not quite as simple as what you might think it would be. When you go to a different reality and play a game and you come back, then you have to talk to your own media, and kind of doesn't make sense if that media isn't talking about the same game that you're talking about. So I had to concoct some holograms of Gregg Williiams and the coaching staff and all the players to present to the media, and I also had to make holograms of the media to present to the players. I had to make track that all they were working right, and then everything got screwed up last week when my Baker just, kind of wouldn't say nice things about Hugh Jackson. That wasn't really supposed to happen. And then while I was out trying to fix that, I guess, Tony Grossi in the other reality made my Gregg Williiams hologram so mad he tried to flip the podium, and, they figured out it was fake.
Damn it, Rick, now that I think about it, that makes sense. And, that seems like something you shouldn't just announce on our show.
Don't worry, Morty. Based on where this show gets broadcast, no one will take it seriously anyway. I would worry more about the poor bastards in the other reality, because if they try to figure out any of the other functions of my hologram device, they'll probably, explode or have their face ripped off. Well, Morty, it looks like we're back to highlight shows this week. Here's a really good game. After the Panthers, they went down and just nobody tackled it. Thought it might be a long day, but then Baker just smacked some more jungle cats right across the face right off the bat. You hit this big play right here to Perriman, and that really set it up here. The very next thing they're running some little kind of neat little trick play where nobody knew what was going on. There we go. Check it out. The touchdown celebration.
What the heck's going on here? You put some sort of stupid old video game graphics on this, you old fart.
Shut up, Morty. It's called production. It's really gonna pop this time because he steps up in the pocket. Watch this one. I can watch this like a million times. It's a perfect throw. Techno Super Bowl sound effects. It's great. The only thing I don't understand here, is what the heck happened afterwards here. I know it was cold at the stadium that day, but those pylons are just plastic. They aren't really that warm. They probably have big heaters on the sidelines. Actually, so the Browns, that's probably one of the few mistakes the offense made that day is trying to warm themselves up by the pylon. Just watch this again.
It's one of the sweetest things. I gotta say, even evil Morty was right about Baker. And then when the Browns needed to seal the deal, of course it was... Oh, Jesus, Rick, you had to ruin my highlight too?
It's just production, Morty. It's just production. And then of course, of course. So we had to make it interesting up at the end, but, we're at the end, what happened.
Cam Newton really kind of got outplayed by Baker. Jesus, Rick.
You know what, Morty? Don't ruin this moment for me. Look at the celebration. All the people happy. No, we're not even mathematically eliminated from the playoffs heading into week 15. Once upon a time, the Browns lost some really big games to the Broncos at the worst possible times, in the worst possible ways. In 1990, we really had to change that, and this big kick won a game against the Broncos. Really looked like things were changing. And after this big win, Bernie Kosar had a lot of good things to say about the future of the Browns, but, really some scary prophetic words that should have been listened to at the time. We're the best team that there's ever been, and as long as, they don't, sort of give me away and let me become a catalyst for a Super Bowl in Dallas and, move the team to Baltimore and come back as an expansion team, we should expect to not have to lose all the games to them, before 2018.
Rick, I'm pretty sure that's not what Bernie said after that game.
He's the second smartest man to ever live. He knows everything that's going to happen before it happens. That's why his pre-snap reads were so good. But on to 2018, and the first thing you got to remember is Baker had to face a big obstacle going to Denver where the altitude is really going to affect the trajectory of the ball.
Gee, Rick, I never thought I'd see the day that you'd make excuses for Baker Mayfield. It's kind of neat to see.
Shut up, Morty. Sometimes when you make big plays, you don't need excuses. Look at this one right here. Nice throw, and my goodness, I thought this guy couldn't catch.
Rick, I had a theory that, maybe early in his career in Baltimore, maybe we stole Perriman's hands and just saved them for later. And just kind of sabotaged Baltimore along the way. Because this guy's been kind of awesome.
Well, how about this? Raise your hand if you remember Deshaun Kaiser in the red zone.
Well, Baker just kind of raised his hand and said, "Not I, sir." He's been awesome in the red zone.
But at the end of the day, Coach Gregg needed one more play out of his team to get a win and just untouched Jabril Peppers. Look at that. He's hero. Nobody's going to be messing with him at CVS anytime soon. It's also worth mentioning that's win 9 against the spread.
And I hope you take my advice to, figure out how bad global warming is going to get and then buy property inland, where the beach is going to end up being. That's a good end game for us, I think.
The highlight of the entire season is literally going to be a missed kick, isn't it? Well, they're going to lose the Steelers' backups and we're having a parade.
Got to find a way to put pressure on Mayfield. On 3rd and 4, little sideline delivery. It's Higgins. Higgins inside the 5, launching it. Touchdown.
And it was in that moment, they say, that Rick's heart grew 3 sizes that day.
Alright, I'm going to go ahead and stop you right there, narrator guy, because if that happened, that would be a major medical calamity, and I would die quicker than the Nazis at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. And not to pump the brakes, but, teams that improve by 7 wins are usually called playoff teams, not 7-win teams. So, I'm excited, but, there's a lot of things ahead that are going to be a little bit scary.
Rick, you probably shouldn't make our last regular video a bummer. We're going to do the postseason awards, and that's going to be great. So, We just have to hope they do the right thing when they're looking for coaches and, keep the core of the team together and draft well.
Yes, because we can always count on the Browns doing those things really well, if we look back to the history of never. And, so that's just something I'm worried about. It's been a really fun season, but, we got to build on it, not just let it all crash down this offseason. And it really starts with the coaches. And it's going to be really frustrating if our coach next year sucks because, I think the coaches that would do good are already, employed by the team right this second. But, regardless, it is good to see, the team actually beat somebody that, they just should beat because they got their backup quarterback and receivers are all hurt. And, just go out and just kind of kick the snot out of somebody because you should. And that's what the Browns did this week. I'm not going to really harp on it because they should have won the game and they did. We're going to act like we've been there before. But yes, I want to really thank everyone for watching the show this year. We're going to do one more probably around Super Bowl week, and it's going to be the Browns postseason awards hosted by Rick and Morty. Cheap plug. And thank you, Browns, for turning it around. You at one point this season was so gloomy you got my Morty kidnapped, so thank you. Well, Morty's season's over, and I'm kind of sad it ended on a crapper.
Yeah, no kidding, Rick. And heck of a job the Ravens did with their chance.
Yeah, it was pretty funny to watch the Ravens look like, those idiot kids from your high school trying to play.
Yeah, meanwhile, Bengals fans are like, hey, how about Jeff Driscoll? And the Steelers look like a sinking ship. It's kind of awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. The division might suck. Nobody better underestimate Coach Freddie Kitchens. He got the job because he turned an offense around literally in like 2 weeks. That was pretty cool. People say, well, he's just a country bumpkin. But you know what? Alabama fan Rick is the smartest guy in his reality, so I don't want to hear it.
And I'm calling it right now. Next year we'll be doing the Rick and Morty Super Bowl wrap-up special featuring the Browns' victory.
Well, a good place to start will be winning a playoff game. Let's roll.